Hey everyone, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. Thanks for joining me for this Halloween/fall album through the years. I'm super excited to start working on this, so stick around. Hey friends, it's Jem with ChappyPlans. Happy Tuesday. It's Try a Tuesday here on the channel, so obviously this is getting added to the playlist. I have tons of videos on this playlist if you're interested in seeing other scrappy projects and just me trying new things that are paper craft related in general. Today I am starting this October/fall memories album through the years. I made this little dangle, super fun. I had these rings, I have a ton of them, so I decided to make my own little album using the packaging that my Halloween kit from 2024 from Ali Edwards came in. I didn't purchase it until this year because I liked last year's kit better and it was at a good discount. I'm also showing you this title page I made. The paper is giving Halloween vibes, I feel like, and it's from the Storyteller kit, the color one. And I also made that little shaker using, it's a scrap lifted idea, by the way, and I am using a printable that I printed on transparency, and it is from the Product Play December Daily class, and I just changed the color in my photo app. Then I put a bunch of little sprinkles in there and sequins and use some foam tape to pop up the October die cut, and that's it for the title. Now I'm going to work on the back. These are two separate spreads, but I want them to have the same colors and the same feel because they're going to be right next to each other. It drives me nuts. If you've been following me for a while, then you know my scrapbook pages always have like the colors are always the same when the pages are facing each other because I just can't do it any other way. But I am rambling. I need to speed up the camera and continue doing my voiceover. So let me do that real quick. So I'm just adhering this paper that I had in my stash to the back side of the, if you want to call it a title page, the title page, it just said October. I used a die cut I popped up on foam tape and then that hand stitched shaker globe that I made. That's all it is on the cover. Then this page is going to be a bunch of circles. I scrap lifted myself. I did a similar layout in an older album I've done of Norah's stories, and I love circles and I love using them on the page. I just find them really fun to work with. So I just punched out a whole bunch of different size circles from different papers, and the like funky pink patterned paper and the pretty in pink and the love you, and that grid circle there, those are all from a very old kit that I got for like $1 or two off of Studio Calico like years ago. I think it was like the Messy Box or Beautiful Mess or something like that. I don't know. People who've been scrapping longer than me would know better. And then I had this vellum star and moon foiled paper from Paper Person Shop, and that's where those butterflies/moths on the right side of the page are from. They are two separate photos and two separate spreads, but because they're next to each other, I want the colors to coordinate. So really, it's just a matter of me playing around with things. So I sized this adorable, by the way, look at this photo. Isn't she the cutest? And let's talk about the fit. Fit's on point. She used to let me dress her. That only lasted for a few years. I thought for sure she'd let me dress her for years to come, but no. So anyway, back in the days when she used to be able to wear Carters. Um, so I made that photo into a circle in the Diptyque app, and then I used Print2Size to print it out. I think it's just over 4 inches, maybe it's 5 inches. I can't remember for the photo. And then it's a variety of 3, 2.5, and 2 inch circles. And then that little label is an old label. I don't even know where it came from, to be honest with you. And then um, I kind of am just playing around with where I want them on the page and just using my tape to adhere them. And I'm saving the little scraps that are left over because I also want to use those in different spots as well. You can see I'm just kind of auditioning um, the placement of those pieces of circles and going with pink, black, and silver for the main color schemes for these two pages. Um, the only thing I didn't even journal. I just stamped the date at the top in that label that says, it says October 16th, or it will say once I stamp it, 2018. And then the bottom, I stamped a phrase from one of my old Studio Calico stamp sets that says, life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. which is one of my favorite, a quote from one of my favorite books, Great Gatsby of Scott Fitzgerald. And then I just have its fall yellow stamped on the other leftover piece of label circle on the right. Then one of the last things I did is add the number 2 chipboard, which is 2 years old in this picture. She actually was almost 3. Her birthday is late November, so she was almost 3 in this picture. But she's very tall for her age, and she always has been. Always in like the 90th to 99th percentile for height. And then I used the This October Moment, which there were like a bunch of them in the most recent Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards. So I used that as well, and I added that after the fact. Sorry about that audio part. I realized I had hit some weird, I don't know what I did, but now it's fixed. So I do apologize for that weird like fishbowl vibe that you just heard. Anywho, I'm going to finish up this with some pom-pom trim because that's my favorite way to add some flair to the sides of these pages, especially when they're outside the page protector. I just think it looks kind of naked till it has a little bit of a trim on the end. In just a minute here, you will see I'm going to do the stamping portion that I mentioned before where, well, maybe you couldn't hear it because the audio was shot. I am going to do the stamping on the label part of these little circle or semicircle pieces. I actually also even stamp on that grid because it's mostly white, just with a thin black grid. I love the way these pages came out. They're probably my favorite so far. I do wish that I had other, like I was so tempted, so tempted to buy more scrapbook products that are Halloween themed from scrapbook.com. But I was like, nope, try to use what you have in your stash and make it work. All the new shiny things are very appealing, but you have stamps you've not used. You have, elements from other past kits you've not used. Like, you need to use them. So that's what I'm doing. So pat on the back for myself for using my stash. But I love the way these pages turned out. The stamping portion of this and most of my process videos, I speed up to 8 times the original just because otherwise it's way too long with me like peeling the stamp, cleaning the stamp, prepping the stamp sometimes, putting it back on the paper. Like it's just tedious. So just so you're aware. And then the other parts of the process video are 4 times the natural speed. So the last thing I do is add this little chipboard for her age. And then, yeah, I think that's going to do it. Moving on to the right, oh my gosh, Norah, her little outfit and her face, this candid picture is my favorite. It was her first time ever trick-or-treating. I'm obsessed with this picture because it's so sweet and it was her first time. And all we did was literally go up and down one road in our neighborhood, and our neighborhood's already like super tiny, so it was very quick, but we just wanted to, do it for a couple of our neighbors. And so this paper that I'm working on is from the Q&A storyteller kit from Ali Edwards, and then these silver vellum butterfly moth things I think I mentioned are Paper Person Shop. Then I have these silver rimmed die cuts from the Halloween kit last year. And I'm going to use another one on the top left to create a cluster, but I'm going to cover up that quote, "The witching hour is near." We're not really a witchy family. We don't really like to, celebrate that or, kind of highlight that. So I'm covering it up with a chipboard piece that I have in my stash that's got the date and just kind of creating this diagonal movement from the top left to the bottom right and then back. And that's the same movement on the page that's to the left of it as well, even though it's just with circles. So I like that. I think it makes for like kind of a nice balanced layout. So I decided to just add a little bit of light purple, or as I like to say, light purple, baker's twine to this chipboard that says October Loves. And then I wrote really, really tiny on the tag. I wrote a costume, quote costume, no different than her daily outfit changes. Nora's first time going trick-or-treating was adorable. We only went up and down one street in our tiny neighborhood. Fun. And then I had all these little teeny, like I had a butterfly die from, I think, scrapbook.com, that it was a freebie, and it's all these different size butterflies. And so I cut those out using the leftover scraps from the punched out circles that were on the left side of this spread. And I punched out a bunch of little hot pink and light pink and white butterflies. And I'm just going to use my glue pen and adhere those in different spots, just again to help kind of create that diagonal movement, and just layer them over the paper. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And then I realized I never put the date on this, so off camera and after I do, probably it's after this video even, I did add 2018 to the top of the picture. I probably should put a title or something like First Halloween. I think I might do that on the bottom. I'm just thinking about that now. Or like first time trick-or-treating or something like that. Because yeah, that's just, that's important, right? To know that. Like, I know that by looking at the picture, but if somebody else is looking at that, they might not know. Oh, you just might have seen that I was working on I just found the This October Moment die cut to add to the left side of the spread. So I just did that real quick. All right, I am not going to show you all of the like gluing on of the little teeny tiny butterflies, but just know that that's what I'm working on. I am using Tombow Mono Glue. It's awesome because it's liquid, it's clear, it dries clear, it goes on clear, and it has a really super fine tip, and it also has a thicker end on the other end. So I love using this glue. I have lots of different glues I like, but for whatever reason, I just reached for this one. And I think it works really well on little details like this. So I either will use that tip or I will use my Zig Kuretake glue pen as well, which I think makes an appearance later on in this video. All right, so I am now going to flip this puppy over and work on the next part of the stories. So this is still 2018. However, it is November 1st. That's why I said this isn't quite like an October album, but it basically is. The dates to me are just semantics. They are just all fall related, but it is all like Halloween fall based, if you will. Minus the photo. That photo in the beginning of Norah in front of our door is like, I realized was something I did every year, was take pictures of her for whatever reason in the fall in front of the house. It's not her first day of school outfit. You would think that's what it would be, but it's not. It's just, that's the pattern that I noticed in all of my, like going back through all my photos through the years, is I always had a picture of her in a cute outfit in front of the house. So that is why I decided to include that in this album, even though it's really mostly supposed to be about Halloween. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So this is going to be it's Farm Day, and I'm going to create the title Farm Day out of these alphabet dies, which, look at me busting out my Big Shot, my Sizzix Big Shot. Guys, this thing is just collecting dust. I said, I am going to get crafty and use all the things and get my the wheels oiled for December daily, because it's been a minute. So that is what I'm doing. I am picking out the letters that I need, and I have these papers pre-selected. The red is from an older Heidi Swap collection, and then I'm showing you the mint tape from scrapbook.com that I use to keep my dies in place. I do have an affiliate link down below if you're curious about that. And then I also have I decided not to use the floral paper, which is an Ali Edwards paper, but I went with that sort of gingham checkered paper, the red and white. That's just a 4x6 card. That was from a different Stories by the Month kit from the past. And it's just enough for me to cut out the words that I want to include, or the letters that I want to include to spell out Farm Day. I'm going to be honest, I had no idea what I was going to do other than use these papers to spell out Farm Day. So, and use the right side of the spread to just be a full page photo. So it's going to take me a while to weed out all these letters and use my Big Shot to cut all of them. So I'm going to edit out some of that just to spare you the process. But what I decided to do was just kind of create my own little like clusters on the pages. Like I may end up making a pocket on the left side underneath the title Farm Day, and then on the right I also created a little cluster on the top of the paper. So you're going to see that in just a second. Right now I'm going through the painstaking process. No, I'm joking. I was doing this while I was watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which is a total trash train wreck of a show. It's kind of like like, it's the same style as like Selling Sunset or Laguna Beach, if you remember that show, or like The Real Housewives. It's a hot mess. So anyway, I couldn't stop watching it. I binge watched a whole bunch of episodes and finished the second season while I was putting these pages together. So, but it takes a little while to, like, poke out all the letters from the dies, and then there's like the inside part of the letter and then the outline, which I love. And I thought about just using the outline and showcasing the polka dot paper underneath, but I ended up just using, I was like, well, I took all the time to like cut out all these letters. I wasn't sure what I wanted to use. So I decided to use like the opposites. So on the word farm, I have like the plaid or gingham or whatever you want to call it with like red border, and then on day I used the red paper and then used the plaid or gingham to outline the letters. So I think it turned out pretty cute. I'm happy with it. All right, so now I have that red paper that I used to die cut out the word day, and that is what I'm going to use to make a little pocket. I used my paper trimmer off camera to just trim it down. I have no idea what's how many inches tall it is. Maybe like 4 to create this little pocket. Maybe more than that. I don't really know. I was just kind of eyeballing how tall I wanted the pocket to be. And then I'm going to use a hole punch to just cut out like a little notch in the top so that you can see that it's a pocket. I do want to mention that after filming and even after the flip through, I added a few stickers. Or maybe it is in the flip through. I don't remember, but I did. I know I didn't film the process of me adding a few extra little foam stickers that I had in my stash. I've got a ton of those like thicker stickers from American Crafts, various collections over the years, and I hardly ever use them. So I am trying to use my stash. Now, I think earlier in this video, I might have said I'm proud of myself for using my stash and not buying anything, but I was really naughty, and I did buy some stuff. I could not help myself. There was a sale on the collection that was in my cart that I like, and then kept like moving to like save for later on scrapbook.com, and it was like 15% off today. So actually I went and added a bunch of items from the Doodlebug, one of the Doodlebug Designs Halloween kits, because it's so stinking cute. And it has a lot of the colors in the kit that future photos will have. So I think it will work really nicely. So now I'm going to be working with, Ali Edwards kit, and then this one from scrapbook.com that's by Doodlebug Design. So you'll see that in a future Flip Through Friday haul for sure, if that's something that you guys tune into, or if you didn't know, that is a series I have on my channel as well. I used to do it every Friday. I stopped buying so much stuff so that I wasn't doing it every Friday, and then I started trying to just share those videos twice a month. The last month or two though, it's been it's been more frequent, because it's planner season and it's like the beginning of, stocking up for things for 2026's lineup. So obviously, I'm adding to cart much more than I used to. We also just got back from a vacation where I did some stationery shopping and things like that. So they're definitely more frequent than they used to be. So stay tuned for that if that's something that you're into. But back to what I'm working on. If you've been watching while I've been yapping at you, I just used some of the extra paper to create little banners, if you will. And that's what I'm going to use to form these 2 different clusters. And then I found this November Stories vellum paper that I loved. Or it's not a paper, it's just a 3x4 card from a previous Stories by the Month kit. So I trimmed that down, and then I'm adding some leftover scrap from that 4x6 gingham card to create a smaller banner, and then a larger banner with this red paper on the right. Then I found this word phrase banner that says this is where the fun stuff happens, so I decided to layer that over the top and add in a couple pieces of chipboard to bring in some more black. So I have Let's Play. And then on the left side, I have This Is the Story, because the story is inside that pocket, and that triangle that says Super Great Time. Later on, I will add like a couple of, like I said, a couple of foam stickers, and then a couple of little like flat 2-dimensional stickers from my stash. One's a farm truck and the other one is a bumblebee. And then on the card that's inside the pocket that says Remember, I used my Zig clean color dot marker to write bullet points about the day. So Farm Day was an event at Norah's preschool, and the 2 classes participated in lots of fun activities in lieu of Halloween. So they got to quote unquote milk Bessie, which was like this cow that had a like one of those medical gloves filled with milk that was attached to the cow, and just like gently tug on the cow's udders to milk the cow, which was so cute. And then they made butter. In the gym, they had like a horse race and played horseshoes. They used letters to spell out farm words. And then a bunch of other little activities. I think there was like a water table that had farm animals. The kids could bathe them and stuff like that. So it was really cute. And Nora was dressed up like a bumblebee. And then I just had some plaid, like a plaid shirt on, a plaid button up. And that is one of the activities, being inside the little farmhouse and collecting all the chickens' eggs. So you had to collect a certain number of eggs. There were like little directions on the inside and things like that. It was really cute. I definitely miss preschool days. She went to a really great preschool, lots and lots of hands-on play, which is, I think, great. Play-based learning is awesome. And so that is such a sweet memory that I was able to capture. And I just used a label sticker that I had in my stash from Studio Calico, and I just put the date on the bottom. So this picture was actually taken November 1st of 2018. Okay, so I have to apologize. I thought I had the camera recording and I didn't. My bad. So I finished the farm page, and then this is now the backside of the full-size photo. And I just have a bunch of different cards. That actually, the quote and the card I'm writing on right now is from Studio Calico, and so are those leaves and the bows that are around the top of the screen. The number 10 on the vellum is an Allie Edwards Stories by the Month card, and then I just embellished it with a piece of chipboard that says fall is in, oh gosh, what does it say? Hold on, I gotta look at it. It doesn't even say what I thought it said. It says, take me to the pumpkin patch. Wow. I thought it was just really cute, adding in black again. And on the right of this, there's going to be another full-sized photo. I really like that balance of like having a full photo and then a spot for embellishments and journaling and getting crafty, if you will. So I had already pre-selected, the leaves and decorated the photo. You can see there's the full-size photo. Again, apologies that I thought I was filming and I wasn't. There is a little cluster with a vellum label that I stamped Autumn Vibes using my Stays On ink on the vellum. Then I layered a chipboard piece that says More of This from Studio Calico. There's a Hello Fall chipboard from Allie Edwards, a puffy heart from Paper Person Shop. That little tree circle puffy sticker is an Allie Edwards sticker, and then the leaves in the bottom left also have a piece of chipboard that says crisp leaves over it. Again, another picture of Norah in front of the house at fall. It's just a thing. So I got completely sidetracked and was looking for trim for this photo on the right, but instead I decided, I need to add trim to the picture of the farm day. So I found this heart trim in my stash. I must have got it for Valentine's Day, forgot about it, and said, let's just pull it out and use it here. So I thought that was a little bit of a fun addition to the page. Now that we're back to the pages, the spreads I was actually working on, I'm going to go through my stash and see what kinds of trim I can use. And I like this dark green color, so I'm just going to add that using some red line tape on the left. And I will just tell you, the journaling is just basically about fall 2019 and how, we had no idea what was actually about to come around the corner. COVID. And said at least I took our front porch decor up a notch, and then talked about how much Norah loves school, her JoJo bows, her songs, JoJo, that is JoJo, oh my gosh, what is her name? JoJo Siwa. Having pierced ears, dancing, and being a fashionista, as evidenced by the photo of her right there, looking so freaking cute. All right, and then the last page I'm working on is really one spread over 2 pages. I had this idea to kind of make like a wreath and add the photos to it. So I have these 2 pictures from one event at the pumpkin patch, and Norah looks so freaking cute. That's how she used to smile, like make this big cheese face. You'd be like, Norah, smile, and that's what she would do. It's at least at this point she's looking at the camera. She used to just not look at the camera at all. So we're making progress here and there. So I decided to back the photos with the same orange paper that I'm using or had used to cut out some pumpkins. So off camera, because it literally took forever, I used 2 different shades of green and a die set from Tim Holtz that was all these different leaves. And I cut those out with my Sizzix. And I also created the pumpkins of various shapes and sizes, just drawing by hand, like freehand drawing some pumpkins and cutting those out of orange papers. The papers are from my stash. They are from like a 12 by 12 paper pack that was, I think it was either Heidi Swap or Paige Taylor Evans or something like that. And then I decided that I wanted to like tuck some journaling behind the larger photo of Norah in the patch. So what I did was I trimmed down, no, not trimmed down. I adhered just 3 sides of the picture to the paper and then tucked in the little journaling card behind it, talking about a field trip at the farm, which is what this is all about. And the date was October 16th, 2019. So let me see. The previous photo was was it also 2019? Yes. I don't know why I did that one first and not because it's out of chronological order. I'm just realizing now, right? Because the picture of her in front of the house, oh, I don't even think I have the date on it. All right, I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look. But anyway, this is a whole year later. So the picture in front of the house is a whole year later. That's 2019. And then this picture is also 2019. It's just October 16th at this point. Anyways, that's all semantics. You don't really care. Here I go, just verbally processing with you while I do my voiceover. I'm a mess. So anywho, the papers that I'm using are, gosh, I think they're really old. They're just white cardstock, basil paper. So I am using this rickrack that I had in my stash in 2 different shades of orange just to add a little border because I decided to leave it. Like I could have, I have enough of the paper that I could have used it to create 2 full 7 by 8 1/4 size pages with it. But I decided just to use this one 12 by 12 piece and like leave a little bit of room on the edge, which I actually like. The shades of white are different. That might drive some people crazy. So like the actual white that I'm gluing on right now that you can see on the bottom of the screen is the back of the photo paper. So it's very white and it's definitely a different shade and texture than the basil paper, but I don't mind it at all. I kind of like the contrast. And I'm kind of going to use that to be my stage, if you will, for the title. So first, before I get to all of that fun, I'm going to make sure the photos are where they should be. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to speed up the camera times like, I don't know, 8 or 10 because this took quite a while. Just because it took forever to glue the backs of these detailed dies die cuts that I made. So I have this Zig glue pen and I'm going to use that to get all the little fine areas of these leaves and leaf clusters and use them and kind of just shape them, put them around the paper and make a wreath shape. And then once those are in place, then I can add in my die cut pumpkins. So that was sped up 8 times the speed. And now I decide, you know what, let's add a little trim to the right too. Why not? And I kept going back and forth between different trims that I had. I also had this big, like, bunch of trim that I purchased at Michael's recently on sale, so I decided to use that. I liked the bright orange better, so I am going to go with that one. Again, I'm going to use some red line tape to adhere it to the paper, and then I will let you know the journaling card just talks about fall meaning back to school, back to preschool, the field trip being really fun. We drove up to the farm. The kids picked a pumpkin, had some cider and donuts, and then we also watched the cider being made, which was pretty cool, and they played on all like the toys they had outside. So I was feeling very thankful. Trigger warning, pregnancy loss. So on the back side of this card, I talked about how in this picture I'm actually pregnant with twins, and I knew that it was twins even though like it wasn't confirmed yet via ultrasound, but we knew that we were pregnant and couldn't wait to let Norah know that she was a big sister. Sadly, they did not make it, and I talked a lot more about this in like previous stories and things like that on the channel, so it's not new news, but if you're new to the channel, it might be new to you. So that is part of our story, and we talk to Norah about it all the time, and she knows that she has what we believe are a boy and a girl who we believe are in heaven waiting for us someday. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that on the back of the card, because it is a very large, albeit unseen, part of this story. And so I wanted to include it just because if Nora's ever looking back at it, she'll know that that's what was going on at that time. So again, apologies if that's like new or shocking news to you, but I am always very open and honest on my channel, and I don't like to, I like to keep it real. That's just the way I am. So you can see I'm stamping. Stamping, I always speed up to like 8 times the speed if there's a lot of it, which in this case there was, just spelling out cutest pumpkin in the patch. The top alphas are my absolute new favorite from Ellie Edwards. Then the bottom alphas are very old from Heidi Swap, but they're nice and tiny. And I stamped a little pumpkin face on there. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of stamping. I wasn't sure if I was going to add anything to these these hand cut pumpkins I made. And you can see I dropped my stamp on the paper, so that's going to be a whole mess. And now I have to figure out how to cover up the mess that I just made by dropping my stamp. So that is, now I got to go in my stash and get a little creative. Also, P.S. I apologize if you could hear my child screaming in the background. She is playing a game with her friend on Roblox and is very, very, very loud. So if you can hear her from her bedroom, apologies. All the apologies today. So you could see that I was auditioning some different things. I didn't know if I was going to put another pumpkin in the middle, some chipboard, like what the heck. I decided to go with these puffy pumpkin stickers that I had in my stash from Studio Calico. So I'm just going to put those in different spots. And then I can add the stamping to the pumpkins. So I added You're the Pumpkin to my spice to the gourd on the left. And then I used this Feeling Like Fall stamp on the bottom right. And that was already curved. So I loved that I could just make it work on that pumpkin. And that stamp is an old Paper Person Shop stamp. I also decided that after I added my, the stamping onto the pumpkins, it still needed something. So I wanted to color the title just a little bit. I don't know. I didn't really know what color to choose, so I went with like a Barely There gray just for the shadow part of the top alphas, and then I colored the pumpkin orange. I just used my Tombow dual brush pens for that. And then I still felt like it needed something, so on the top right up above, like there's that white space, and if you know me, like I'm always afraid of white space. I don't know, it's just the way that I roll. So I did add October. That's from the Stories by the Month stamp from last year, I think. And I just wrote Elms Farm Field Trip and then put 2019 just so the year was there. And then underneath the picture of Norah, I don't know when I did this, but I added a little chipboard that said More Pumpkins, Please. And then my finishing touch is just going to be a little pull tab after I get the stamping done, that is, on the journaling card, which by the way is an old Paper Person Shop journaling card. Really, it's meant for documenting like pumpkin spice like lattes, but I just like the title that says Pumpkin Spice Up Your Life. I mean, it works. It's fine. So I had this tab. It's actually from like an old travel collection, but the green was the perfect shade of green, and even the sentiment worked for this story. So even though like certain items might be meant for other documentation purposes, you don't need to use them for that reason. So that is going to wrap up the few pages that I started in this little like nostalgic journal of mine, or not journal, like scrapbook of mine. I had a lot of fun working on this and using my stash, but again, stay tuned. I will be using some doodlebug things and whatever else it is that I added to my cart. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you guys so much for watching as usual. So do me a favor and like this video if you did, subscribe if you're not, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss my next one, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, friends, and remember that you are enough. Bye.